Welcome to Scaling with Disha, the show that helps online entrepreneurs to scale their business to six figures and beyond without the hustle or the overheads. I'm your host, Disha Waddup, and I'll be here each week to remind you that you can do anything you set your mind to. Hello and welcome to another episode of Scaling with Disha. I am so excited that you're here, and today we have Anna, and Anna is amazing. So Anna has been described as a Renaissance woman, and working with her, it's easy to see why. Her insatiable curiosity combined with experience in different disciplines has fueled her creative mind, and her infectious energy spills over into everything she touches. She'll infuse some magic into your branding, but keep everything grounded by pairing it with practical, powerful, and proven strategies. Anna, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm really pleased to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
So tell everybody more about you. How did you become a branding specialist, and what is your jam?
So it's a long story with lots of twists and turns, but I'll try and give you a brief version. So I actually was in the corporate world for 18 years. I was an engineer. I worked in operations. I used to troubleshoot network issues on sort of large global networks. And then I moved into designing these networks. And then I moved into selling these networks. And I'd kind of like... I'd worked my way up over the years and was in quite senior positions. But throughout the whole of that time, I always felt like a bit of a square peg in a round hole. I was always a very creative child, always loved the arts. And it's a very long story, but I ended up in sort of engineering and IT. And it was really good. I learned loads of things, but it wasn't didn't fill my soul. It didn't really light me up. So when I had my son, Charlie, bless him, he's 13 now. When I had him, I started taking a lot of photos of him. A lot of my friends said, they're quite cool. So I thought, just on a whim, I thought I'd start a photography business. So I went down the local baby clinic, put some flyers up, went back the next week, and I got my first clients. And I was growing that business, learned all sorts about marketing and how to brand myself, how to stand out, against the other photographers in the local area. Loved it. I was really enjoying it. Unfortunately, Charlie's dad and I split up just before Charlie turned 2. I went back to the corporate world. I think once you've had your own business, it's really hard, to go back to working for somebody else again. So my entrepreneurial dreams were calling, and I left again in 2016, and I've been running my business, full time since then. And I started off again actually doing the photography. I was doing a lot of family shoots at the time. And then I was going to a lot of networking groups, met a lot of women there who wanted shoots, personal branding shoots. And when I was taking them through my pre-consultation and chatting to them about, what vibe they wanted to create, what their look and feel was, I discovered that they actually hadn't gone through a branding exercise. So I found that I was helping them with their branding and with business. And I fell into doing personal branding shoots, which then evolved into doing, the branding, the whole branding. So looking at their copy, looking at the imagery that they use and the photography. And the more I learned about the subject and the more I worked with clients, I just thought, no, this is it. This is the thing that I really love. It combines so many different things that really light me up.
I love how you just went, I'm just going to create a photography business on a whim. Go down and stick up a poster and see how it goes.
Yeah, I know. It's, I sometimes think a lot of people, we can overthink it. And I do. I'm guilty of overthinking things too. But it can be as easy as that. It can be as easy as just, you have a skill at something. You go where your ideal clients are. My ideal clients were mums. I went down the baby clinic. I put a poster up, chatted to the mums, and the next week I had my first clients. So it wasn't difficult.
It's so simple, isn't it? When you put it like that and you say, just put stuff into action, go and ask people if they want to buy from you.
Yeah,
Super.
It is.
I think people tend to overcomplicate a lot of things when they starting a business, and you've just proven it. They can just stick a poster up and get some clients and build a profitable business.
It seems kind of silly, doesn't it? It seems, but it's just, you have to take action. You know, if you can have ideas, you can try and make it the most perfect. You know, you can try and make it perfect, but until you actually go out there and take action, you don't know what will happen. You don't know what people respond to. And I think it's by taking action, the next step becomes clearer.
Yeah. What do you think is the thing that's helped you scale through growing all of your separate businesses and coming out of corporate and building another business?
So I think the first thing is joint ventures. So I think I really learned how to collaborate with other businesses. So when I think back to my photography, I started to think, where did my ideal clients hang out? So first of all, I kind of like approached the baby clinic. The next people I spoke to were the local NCT, so the childbirth groups, and I would offer to go along to their sessions and set up, my little studio and take shots of the children there, and I'd give them a commission. So that was a good way of finding clients. I did collaborations with local hairdressers. I did collaborations with fitness instructors. So I just went where, my people were, where the ideal client was. And I think just go along with ideas to the people. And if they're business owners, they like ideas. So, I think that's
a great idea to go to people with an idea, and that's the difference, isn't it, between a collaboration and when people say, "Oh, do you want to collaborate?" And I'm like, "Okay, what do you want to do?" And then I don't know. That having an idea of what you want to do together before you even approach them is probably one of the key things to knowing whether they're going to say yes. It's got to be a win-win for both, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's exactly what I was thinking. Try and make it a win-win for them. If you've got an audience that you can bring to them, so it's helping promote both of you. Or if it's not helping promote both of you, there's cash. There's they get commission for helping you. So I did a lot of work with nurseries and schools, and they would always get, commission for me going along and doing my photography in their places. So
has it ever gone bad for you doing a collaboration?
No, I don't think bad. I think maybe some of them didn't turn out as well as I'd hoped. Mm-hmm. And then it's kind of a learning curve, what didn't work, what can I improve, what could I do differently? But none of them, I'd say, none of the relationships that I was growing with people, none of them turned bad. It was just a learning curve really on how I could do things differently. And also what I liked, because, some of the collaborations I found more enjoyable than others. And I kind of narrowed down, my ideal client who I'd like to work with more. So no, it was all good, really.
Nice. And what do you think, something else that helped you scale over the years of growing your business? What's made a difference to you?
I'm just thinking, I did make some notes. I'm going to remember. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things you hit on quite quickly is you can have one-off services, and it's a lot of effort to go out and find clients, and you sell the service and it's great, but you want to kind of be thinking about your cash flow, and it's really nice to be able to sort of create some predictability with your cash flow. So with my photography business, the things that I started to do was a shoot aimed at pregnant women. So I would do a bump shoot, and I would package into the bump shoot that they would have a newborn shoot, and then they would have a first birthday shoot. So once you've got the first client, you've got them for the year. Yeah. And you can set the payments for the different shoots at different points during the year, so you have some predictability.
That's a fantastic idea. I've never thought of photographers doing that, but what a brilliant idea.
Yeah, I did scratch my head a lot to try and create some predictability. So another thing that I did with my personal branding and sort of corporate shots, because I did a lot of work with corporate clients too, I came up with a kind of a PR package, because when I started working with the clients, they initially called me in to do one kind of set of work. I did some headshots, actually the headshots for some publicity for a magazine, got chatting to them. I ended up doing the headshots for the whole company. And then I went back with, a PR package where they could call off, they'd have a set number of shots over the year, and they could call off the shots. So it was, again, that I knew that, and they, it was a fairly big company, so I knew they'd be calling off a shot every month. And, you get a few of those companies, again, you start to create some predictable income. So
do you think that there is a market for remote work in photography, or is it very location specific? As the world has gone over the last year, do you think that's made a massive impact in the photography world, or has it sustained online?
Yeah, I think some photographers have gone down the route of doing online shoots. I chose not to. I didn't want to for a few reasons, mainly because I didn't think I could get the quality that I wanted for the people on online shoots, and also I was taking my branding work that I was doing with clients online, so I was very focused on building up my branding side of my business when COVID came along. I think there'll always be, we've got the internet. We live in such an incredible time. I think there'll always be opportunity to do, shoots online. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of them, but they work for some people, and yeah.
Yeah, I know you've traveled for shoots as well. Do you travel often for shoots? Is that something?
Yeah, I mean, this was something unexpected. This is the amazing thing about growing a business. You just don't know where it's going to take you. So I think I just had, with social media, photography is great because you've got some very visual things you can share on social media. So I had a lot of people see my photography and then approach me for projects. I had one lady who runs, she's quite incredible. She's got a few businesses actually. She's a dentist, but she runs a travel business too. And she loved my work, and she asked me if I would go to Romania, and she wanted some photos of Romania and different places that she took her clients there to create, marketing material. So I went out to Romania twice actually and did some work with her, some photography work, and got to travel around Romania, and I got to take my son with me.
Wow.
I've had shoots out in Nice, in France. I've had shoots out in Lanzarote. I've had shoots in Hungary. So yeah, I've got to travel. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I'd love an excuse to travel. I think I went and met a client in Cambodia once for a yoga retreat. That was quite cool.
Yeah, no, that's.
But that's as frequent as my traveling has gone once for a client. That's it.
It's exciting. I think it's exciting. I think we can do so many things, because we have clients all around the world. We can talk about that we're running a retreat somewhere, and like where we want to go and have a retreat. Perhaps we want to go and visit somewhere, and then we can promote it and get people there. And it's exciting. I can't wait for everything to open up again, really, once COVID's finally gone.
Yes. So what do you think people can implement in their business to help them scale?
So I think first of all, I think with branding, I think a lot of people perhaps are new to business may think that branding is your logos or your colors. I think you really have to stand out online. And I think it's not just your logos and your colors. You have to make people feel something. So I think, if you think about someone that you admire in your field, what would you describe, how would you describe them? Would you describe them, with their colors, their logo, or would you describe, how they make you feel, the impact they have, what they stand for? And so I think branding is really about creating a feeling, it's creating a connection. And obviously you can do that with, the words that you use, and you can do that with the imagery you use, whether that's written words or whether that's spoken words, and you can create a vibe really. So I think branding is one way of, standing out online, and you do that with your words and your imagery.
How do you pick your imagery or words that you use for your branding? Is it something that you just come up with at the top of your head, or is there a process that you take your clients through that people can start to sort of think about?
Yeah, so I do have a process. As you might see, I've kind of like birds are kind of my thing. And so I take people through a 3-stage process. The first is called your flight. And we kind of really look at, the mission, what you want to create in the world, what your values are, what lights you up. And then before we start even looking at anything else, and then the next section is, and we look at your ideal client, and we look at, who they are. And one really important thing I would say is thinking about, psychographics when we think about our ideal clients rather than demographics. A lot of people will look at creating something around a demographic, so their age or their gender. I think psychographics, really understanding, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what they're doing, or before working with you and after working with you. So we look at all of that. Then we look at your visual identity, which I think is your plumage. So we look at, the colours that you use, and there's all sorts of psychology around colours. It's fascinating actually when you dive into it. And then there's fonts, and the fonts you use. Oh God, there's so much research being done on different fonts and the feel that fonts can have. A soup company looked at, they had a group of people into tests, and they used different fonts on the soup, and they gave them the soup to try, and the fonts affected how creamy and how tasty they thought the soup was. So wow. Yeah, it's fascinating. Just fonts, you never would believe how much goes into fonts. And then we look at photography, and we look at imagery, and images can create a feeling with people. I think we try to narrow down, what feeling do you want to create with people? Do you want to create an energetic, warm, lively feeling? And then we look at imagery and colours that can go with that. Or do you want to create a calm, peaceful, safe place for people, to come into your world with? And then we look at imagery and words. And so it's kind of using everything that we have at our disposal to create this feel, this vibe, so people coming into your world, that's what they feel when they come across you.
I love the way that you take that through on stages and take people through those different things, and that you've named them after birds.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot the last one. So it's your song. So your song's the final stage, and that's all about your message, your messaging. It's your copy. It's your brand vocabulary. It's your brand stories. So it's. Yeah.
Do you think that people have to change their vocabulary for their branding, or do you think their branding should represent their vocabulary?
So I think it depends. People are creating different companies. So I think if you're creating a personal brand around you, I think it's very much, listening to who you are. So I'd get clients to sit down and record themselves and get them to, record their vocabulary that they would normally use. And I think it's, you build something very much around you, because if you're not creating something around you, it's going to be very difficult to keep up this facade of being something that you're not. So I think there's the kind of the real personal branding. And then I think there's the brand where you're creating a brand around a product or a service, and you're not the kind of the figurehead, or you're not the brand. And then I think it's you kind of almost give that brand a personality, and you think about the colors and the vibe, and how you want that brand to come across. So
that's really powerful, actually. I think when I used to work in digital marketing agency, and we had all the variety of different clients you're creating content for and putting stuff out there, and knowing the different individual personalities of each brand before you start to create that content for that person. And I wouldn't create content for multiple people in 1 hour or 1 day even, because I'm like, I'm in that headspace now of this particular client. I'm like, I've got to create this content because I'm in that headspace now. Whereas if I was to flick between the two, I often merge the voices and the branding behind it, and I'm not in the right space for those different brands.
Yeah, no, completely. So I think it's really good to have like a brand blueprint. So I create a brand blueprint, if I can get my words out for people, and it's really useful for them just to have everything in one place, but also they can then give it to graphic designers, or they could give it to copywriters, they can give it to photographers. So, if you're working with a few different people, you can keep everything, coherent. So if you are somebody who's, like you say, working with a few different clients, is have the brand blueprint, the brand voice and everything in front of you, and read that, before you kind of get down to doing work for them.
I like the idea of a blueprint. I know there's when you're working with designers, they're like, oh, I'll give you a mood board or a design board or how to use the logos and that sort of stuff. But a blueprint where it goes into the voice and the language to use, that would be awesome. I haven't seen a lot of brands do that. So that is really powerful.
Yeah, no, so it's that exactly. It encompasses everything. So it includes the mission statement, it includes I use brand archetypes with clients. So it includes your brand archetype, it includes your mood board, it includes your briefs to photographers. It includes everything. They're cool. I love putting them together.
Yeah, that sounds like a fantastic idea. I'm very intrigued by that. That's cool. So what can people do to work with you? How can they get in touch with you?
So they could go to shakeyourtailfeathers.com. I have different offers. So one of the services that I'm currently working on at the moment and I love is called Your Song, actually, and it's a 6-week to confident copywriting, and that's something I'm really excited about at the moment. I think the next one kicks off in June, but I run them 2 or 3 times throughout the year, so you can keep an eye out for that.
Fantastic. We'll drop the links below. So I have my random fun questions for you. So what do you do for fun?
So I love nature. I'm a bit of a tree hugger. I like getting outside. I like walking. I just love being outside. I've become quite a geek over lockdown. I've got really into foraging, so foraging mushrooms and different plants that I can eat. So I love being outside.
And what does freedom look like for you?
Oh, freedom is being able to follow my creative passions. So I've got lots of things that I'm passionate about. So freedom to me is financial freedom, which gives me the time and the space to follow the things that I love.
And what was one huge personal goal that you want to tick off?
Yeah, so I'm also an artist, and I would love to get my art into White Walls galleries. So they've got a few galleries across the UK. I did approach them a few years ago and I was rejected, but I think I've progressed since then, and so I'm going back to them, and so that's one big thing for this year I'd love to achieve.
Yes, that would be amazing. I'm excited for you to tick that off.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for coming on, and we'll drop all the links so everybody can check out Anna below. We'll see you next week for another episode of Scaling with Disha. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I really hope that you genuinely learned something from today's episode. If you found this episode useful, then please hit the subscribe button and leave us a review. I personally read each and every one. Until next time, bye.